And welcome once again to the Dave K Show. I'm David K. Gyro. Thanks everybody for joining. Look, I tell you what, before we go any further, and I go any further, tell your friends to go to Facebook right now, log into the Dave K Show, and start watching us, and get those guys out there watching the show right off the bat.
Done.
Good. Good. So we want everybody to start watching the show like right now. I'm putting a warning ahead because this is a show that you do not want to miss. That being said, everybody welcome. Whether you're watching live right now or pre-recorded later on, we are broadcasting, as always, off the beautiful banks of Falls River in New Roads, Louisiana, in the historic Julian Pardris Arts Center and Museum. That's always a tongue twister, but I said it today. But today, as you notice, I have a special guest host with me, Miss Amber Leigh. Amber, how you doing?
Hello, I'm doing great today. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so glad to have you. So very, very good to have you. So basically, we always like to cross-promote our sponsors and our media partners, right? So tell us a little bit about who we like to talk about every shift.
All right. Today, we want to give a shout out to our media partners, PointeCoupieReporter.com. It's a good source to find out news on the net about Pointe Coupee. Listing links to articles about Pointe Coupee from area media is their specialty, but you'll find original articles also. Dial them up on the web at PointeCoupieReporter.com. We also do not want to forget about the Pointe Coupee banner, Pointe Coupee's oldest and only paper, and now they're also on Facebook.
Absolutely. So we like stuff that we can kind of hold, like paper these days, you know. The internet's all fun and dandy and everything, but we like stuff we can hold, put on a coffee table, get some ink on our hands, and read
Absolutely.
stuff. Yes,
Absolutely.
That kind of stuff. And, of course, that's kind of going by the wayside and everything, but digital's here to stay, and it's going to get bigger and bigger. But hats off to Pointe Coupee banner for still having the paper out there.
There's nothing like your morning coffee with a real, actual newspaper.
Right.
I don't think that should ever fade away.
Thank you. Exactly right. Yes, it's part of the tradition and the heritage that we have over here. Absolutely. So we have two special guests, two recurring guests on the show right now, and so much of stuff is going on in the world today, right? It's just, can you keep up with everything?
Absolutely not, man. I'm busy.
Right. Even if you're busy trying to keep up with the news, it's hard to keep up with, right? Every day, something changes.
Hey, Dave, when you hit your hand, it sounds like explosion's happening.
Yes. So we need to put that low-cut filter on there, but we'll do that later. So
Okay.
I won't do that anymore. So things are happening so fast. I thought it was very important to get our next two guests on right now to talk about things that are going on. Because there are things in the world that are going on that we can see that affect us, and there are things that we cannot see that affect us also. So we're going to discuss all of this kind of stuff. And I tell you what, we are going to open the phone lines up, right? And so why don't you tell people what our phone number is if they want to call in.
All right.
I'm sure Chris will put that on the screen for us in a second.
To call in, guys, the number is 225-713-5099.
Say it one more time.
225-713-5099.
Yes, our 24-hour hotline is waiting for you to call in. Call in and chime in with any comments or questions.
Now, for the Cajuns who are watching this, who've maybe had a little bit to drink because of the Saints game going on, can we say that phone number just a little bit slower?
Yeah, go for it, Amber.
Cajun people out there.
Okay. 225-713-5099.
Thank you very much, Amber. That's for our Cajun drunks out there right now who want to call in.
So jealous, by the way.
All right, that'll get you going. All right, without further ado, we're going to go ahead and introduce our guest. Normally, we do a takeoff roll for 5 minutes. You know what? Hang on a second. Let's do a little quick takeoff roll because people are wondering who in the world is this beautiful girl you got sitting next to you? Where did she come from? So I want to kind of introduce you and let people kind of know who you are.
Oh, goodness. Okay.
You are originally from New Roads.
I am. I was I was raised in New Roads, and I graduated from Falls River Academy a million years ago.
Yeah, we won't hold that against you, but that's okay. That's fine. So how was their football team when you graduated?
It was good. I remember it being good.
Right. Probably the
Was
coach.
that a trick question? Because I don't know, man. I'm old now. I don't remember things like that.
They kind of have a little thing under the table about their football program's not too good right now. So I was just wondering if it was better back in the day.
Yeah, we were good back then.
Did you ever cheerlead?
I did, by accident.
Really?
That was the
Tell us
craziest
about
story. I was a huge basketball player, and I actually got scouted for a college, scholarship. And as a joke, my friends made me try out for the cheerleading squad, and I accidentally made it over a friend of mine who had been a cheerleader the entire time. So my dad was like, "You are not quitting," and so I would have to play my basketball game and then turn around, change, and cheer for the guys' game, and it was horrible. That was definitely a learning experience.
Wow. So did you lose a friend over this deal or what?
Maybe for a little while. I think she got over it, but I felt really bad. I just went out there for the tryout, and I was super spastic and annoying on purpose, and I could not believe that they actually chose me.
Wow, it's amazing. Now, why do you think they chose you?
I don't know, man. I don't know, but I felt
Wow.
bad forever about that.
Right, interesting. So, of course, cheerleaders for the football team. Did you ever make homecoming court or anything like
I
that?
did make court.
You did.
I
So
did.
we're learning more and more about you.
Yeah, and I'm really not like a homecoming court type of girl. I was very plain back in high school, believe it or not. Like, hardly wore
Right.
makeup. I was kind of nerdy, like kind of shy, you know.
Right.
So, but I got along with everybody. I was kind
Cool.
of like the sport girl. I was like a tomboy.
And like I always say, we talk about our high school days. That was like a whole nother lifetime ago, right?
It was like light years ago.
Yes. And
In a galaxy.
Far, far away.
Right. And we've become like totally different people, Yeah, I'm amazed at like I've been to a few high school reunions already. I graduated in 1987. And it's like a lot of my classmates, they're embarrassed to talk about the old days. I'm going like, no, man, come on, let's talk about the fun times.
Why? That was fun. We're about to have our
Yeah.
20-year reunion.
20
so,
years.
oh gosh, I just gave it away.
Right. Well, that's great. So I hope everybody's still living. Everybody's doing okay, from your class.
Everybody's
So-
doing pretty good. And I will say about my class, everybody's still friends. Like, there was not any bullying and stuff that I recall like there is today, which I'm very thankful for. Of course, that was before the internet and all that drama,
Right.
but we all got along. We were a very small class, and everybody kind of had each other's back.
Yes.
So I'm glad that I got to experience a high school like that.
Right.
Those were the good
Yeah.
old days. I remember those days. I had my 1980 Ford pickup truck. I had my 30-30 rifle on the gun rack, parked in the high school
Right.
parking lot.
You know, some of our
With the
the
doors
guys in high
unlocked.
school were like that
Really?
too. They would bring their hunting guns in their truck because they would go hunting before class, or they would leave class early to go hunting.
that's
It's just that goes to show you how much things can change.
Yes.
You know.
Oh my gosh. Right now, if you just do like this, they'll try to get you in trouble with your hand, or make a gingerbread gun or something.
Yeah,
you're
but the
dead.
way that we were raised, I don't think we got offended at things like the kids do today. We weren't as soft as they are and coddled, and
Right.
that's a whole nother show, man. I could get into that for
Exactly.
sure.
Oh yeah, we definitely do that. I love reminiscing about the past. It's a lot of fun. Thinking about the good old days. It's a whole lot of fun. All right, without further ado, so now we know a little bit about who you are, and so we kind of go forward from there. Let's go and introduce our two guests today because we got a lot to talk about. And go ahead, Amber.
Today we have guest Alex Patout, if I said that correctly.
Alex
and
Patout the third. Yes.
the Alex Patout, pardon me, and Derrick Poirrier.
Awesome.
How we doing?
How y'all doing, guys?
Great. Happy to be here. Happy and
Let me
humbled.
tell you what, man. We had our elections last night,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That meant a lot of things for the next 4 years. In some cases, like we renewed some taxes, millages, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Depending on where you live, is who you voted for. But everybody
Yeah.
voted for governor, secretary of state, that kind of stuff,
That's
sort of
right.
thing. I know locally here, we voted to renew the tax renewal for the schools, which I think was really good.
Yep.
So we need that to keep going. I'm tired of being last, and everything that's good.
50
and good.
out of 50, man. It's horrible.
Right. I don't know who comes up with these little diagrams, but they're right a lot of times. So with that being said, we got a lot to talk about and everything. First of all, Alex, I want to take it to you first. What is your general impression of the election last night, and where it's going to take us for the next 4 years in light of, the big picture of our government?
Wow, Dave. Come out.
In
come out
30
like
minutes
that,
or
huh?
less.
Yeah.
And
country.
Right.
Why?
Right.
Why do we have that?
That goes back. A lot of people blame Bobby Jindal for that way back then, and kind of like, going forward now. But I think it might go a little bit past that. But go ahead.
No, the thing is that a lot of us on this table have been, as we're our military, we got stationed different places around the country, and we saw different things of other states around the country. You come back home and you say, well, why can't we have that? Why can't we have this or that or A, B, or C? What's the difference? Why do we have to be that? Why do we have to be the poor state? What are we doing that we could be doing differently to change the perspective of the country, of how they see Louisiana, but also how they see Louisianians themselves see what's going on in front of them because they don't go outside the state to see other states and say, well, why don't we have that?
Absolutely. It's called being in the monkey cage is what I always called it. If you don't ever leave the monkey cage,
Right.
if you're always in there, then the smell and all that doesn't bother you because
Right.
it's just what you're used to.
Correct.
So if you don't ever step out, then you don't know the difference.
That's right.
Yeah, right.
You got to open your eyes and see it from a different perspective. And I feel like we're just settling.
Right. And you bring that up, and then you think about, okay, well, Alex, we go on vacations. That's great. Where do you go on vacations to? Go to Florida. It's poor there.
Yeah.
You go on a cruise. Where are you going on a cruise? You could probably go to Mexico.
Mexico,
It's
right.
poor over there. So you're seeing the same shit,
Yeah.
just different perspective.
Right.
But go to California. Go to Washington State. Go to these other places. Go to Colorado. Go and see. Yeah, and then come back and say, well, why can't we have all that stuff?
Right. Yes. Absolutely. Derrick, what's your take on that?
Something that you gotta also think about is look at our neighbor just over to the west, Texas, and
Yeah.
in the oil industry, that's one of our biggest competitors. If we don't reevaluate what was allowed to do with the gumbo pack, as far as all the lawsuits and everything with the industry and some of the taxation that we started increasing under by the new current governor, Mr. Edwards. What new plants are we going to have come in? What new plants that they're going to do remodification or consider shutting down to go to our neighbor? We need to kind of sit back and reevaluate how we're doing things. And part of the propagation of the Democrats that may have swung over to the right, or some of the independents that swung over to the right versus staying left. Because if you look at the voting margins last night, there was plenty of votes that swung over to Mr. Risponi that the past election was for Mr. Edwards.
Right.
So hopefully he took that message and ran with it, because the reality of it is the last 4 years there was a lot of lawsuits and a lot of opening of policies to allow lawsuits to the industry that is the primary industry that produces good paying jobs for Louisianans, and that is the oil industry, that is all the service jobs for the oil industry. And if we keep going down that road, we're going to bite the primary hand that feeds all the residents for the lower southern region of Louisiana. And we need to reevaluate that.
Right. Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Definitely. And like I said, each state has its own particular economic engine that drives it. So like Louisiana, we're big into oil and gas over here because of Tuscaloosa Trend and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff and everything. So yeah, that's very interesting. So let's talk about. I want to go back. That's our election for this time. So I want to go back. You and I were talking about something about a month or two ago when the Hard Rock collapsed in New Orleans, and that kind of went out of the news cycle.
Yeah.
But it was so interesting, some of
Yeah.
the topics that you brought up. Do you remember that, Amber? When Hard Rock
I
collapsed?
do. I do remember that. That's a horrible situation, man.
It's a horrible
sad.
situation.
Right.
But I want to look at some facts.
Yep.
Okay. Fact number one: the day before, Donald Trump was in Louisiana politicking for the Republicans coming in too. Okay, they were running.
Not many people really caught
Then
that.
The next day, that was Friday. The next day was a Saturday, voting day. The building falls in downtown New Orleans. The last thing that happened in New Orleans was Katrina. That was almost like a little mini 9/11 for people. And who would want to go outside when the building just fell? I
Right,
want to
distraction,
stay. I
man.
want to stay inside. So people didn't go out to vote as much. Okay. The building's still there, but the point is that the effect of when the instant of it happening.
Well, the morale
the
just
morale,
went way
psychology,
down.
everything like that. Okay. I don't want to get out. I don't want to go outside. I don't know what's happening. I'm gonna stay inside. Now, call it whatever you will, for whatever, but this is a company that's an international company.
Hard Rock.
Hard Rock contracted it to do the construction from another company that I'm pretty sure was a good company. They're not going to be like, we're going to go second best or third best or fourth best because we can't afford it. These guys are international players, okay? They've been in restaurants, in casinos, in hotels all around the world, okay? Not just in America. And so you're going to tell me that they would subpar something and that something subpar would happen and that would happen, if you just look at the whole dynamic of it, you're going to pay for good work. You're going to make sure something like that doesn't happen. But then why did it happen? It's always that big W, why? Because someone does know why it happened. Okay?
Absolutely, they do. I agree with
someone,
that 100%.
Someone knows why this happened.
Anytime something like this happens, I'm like, what are they trying to distract us from now?
Right.
Yeah.
That's my first question that I think in my mind every time.
Yeah, point, counterpoint.
Absolutely.
Right. And the other big question is the permitting process. No building construction like that doesn't begin, and also in the middle of the process, the permitting regulations, the safety inspections, and everything else that goes into place, especially in big cities in the center of a city. There's always safety inspections going on, so how to get missed.
Yeah, they're not going to just let the safety fall to the wayside, just mid, project.
This was definitely brought to by the people who say that Jeffrey Epstein is still alive, and they know it.
Right, exactly. right. The kicker for me.
And look, just something that you and I had talked about, I want to bring that up too. New Orleans, what is New Orleans? People think of Vegas as the Sin City of America, but no. Long before the days of America, there was always Port New Orleans.
Big Easy.
And
right.
it was the place for sailors, both the British, both the French, both the Spanish. The things that happen in a port city, y'all. That's all I'm going to say. That was the true original Sin City. Then we have vampires and the cult and everything like that in New Orleans, okay? Well, the oldest places in America of having this kind of stuff, voodoo and everything. So bring that aspect to the whole plane now of New Orleans 2019, a building of hard rock comes to fall.
Interesting.
Right in the heart of the French Quarter.
Right in the heart of the French Quarter.
My whole deal was very interesting to me was before the building fell, this guy took his cell phone and had everything framed up, ready to go.
Yep.
And it was perfectly framed if you saw the video. And then when it fell, it was all captured beautifully on video, just for everybody to see perfectly. That was weird.
Because they didn't have anyone for 9/11 ready to do
Right.
that. So we have to make sure that for this one, we're going to get some good cuts.
Exactly, right. And it was real, yes.
Yeah.
I'm surprised we hadn't been shut off the air yet.
It's coming. It's coming.
What Dave just said, if Facebook says, bye-bye, y'all, we're done with y'all for today, we're still being recorded both
2 backups.
Visually and audibly.
Yes, 2 backups.
So audibly is not a word, Alex.
That's it.
We can pretend though for
audibly.
today. We'll just pretend. We do what
Make
we
our
want,
own
okay?
words.
Right.
We do what we want.
Audibly. Yeah, so if anybody's watching right now, you want to chime in, we encourage phone calls. Please call us at 713-5099, area code 225, and chime in. We want to kind of hear from you. If you have any interesting takes on what we're talking about, Hard Rock Cafe, the governor's race, the elections that just happened or whatever. And once again, we don't get into politics. We talk about that. We don't talk about politics per se on this show, but we talk about the government and how it affects us as citizens of the world, basically.
That's right.
Right.
So,
and Epstein did not kill himself.
No, he
okay?
did not.
Just
No, he
want
did
to
not.
put that out there.
Let's just talk about this. It's a good segue. It's a very good segue. Let's talk about the entertainment industry, and I got some other little sub segments I want to go into, but the entertainment industry, okay, when we talk about say the Illuminati or whatever, and that kind of stuff, whatever. But I mean, as far as that aspect that controls the pedophilia going on and everything, Jeffrey Epstein and all the other behind the scenes stuff, to make it to the top, okay, if you're playing on a world stage, if you're a major TV star, a major music star, anything that you're playing on the world stage, you have to do your time, and you have to do your time to get where you are. That's what I always understood. So Jeffrey Epstein, look at the stuff he was involved with, right? What was Jeffrey Epstein involved with?
Well, what was he involved with? More of like who wasn't he involved with is the bigger question. The guy's connected with the most biggest of all. those craziest movies that talked about
Right.
underage sex of adults with underage children. I don't know. That's what I'm
Right.
gonna do.
Yeah, sounds like a
Right.
great idea, guy.
Right.
Right.
Hide in plain sight. Right.
You know,
And nobody bats an eye. Like, we just let this happen, and nobody says anything.
did y'all see? So we know that in a couple years ago, a lady from ABC had a hot mic on, and she talked about the investigation that she did when she was at ABC about the Epstein investigation. It went massively, and this was about 2 years ago, and this was hot mic'd on ABC. CBS Australia has decided to do a 60-minute episode, and it aired last week with one of the females who is filing the lawsuit with a lawyer in New York against the Epstein family and everything that's connected to Epstein still. Now, the guy may be dead, but he still has funds, okay? And so these people who were molested by these people who were part of the Epstein, they're suing now. They're going into court. They're
As
bringing
they
it into
should,
court,
man.
Right?
Right.
Which
And-
no amount of money will ever equivalent what they deserve. I mean,
No.
Right.
There's never a dollar for trauma.
absolutely not.
But they do it. They get in and talk to the girls, 2 girls specifically who are filing, and they talk about they don't get graphic, but they get into the aspects of what happened to them allegedly, in the apartments in Paris, in the townhouse in New York, on the island. Who was there on the island with them? One of them gets specific about gender identity, genital identity about one of them. Okay,
Interesting.
I mean, that's pretty specific.
yeah,
You know?
Right. If you
Yeah.
know that.
The Who, though, did they bring out any names that are familiar that we would know? I missed this. I need to go back and watch
Well,
this for sure.
Prince Andrew, Kevin Spacey,
Oh, wow, actually. Surprise.
Little black book.
Bill Clinton himself.
Oh, we knew Bill Clinton.
We just said the Clintons. We haven't started. We already said the C word. But then that goes into another thing called Pizza Gate.
Yeah, Pizzagate. I was going to go
or
there
Pizza
next.
Fence.
Right.
That might get us cut right there. If we anyway, the point is that that's connected to a pedophilia ring from New York City with children and experiments with children,
Yes.
because these children are trafficked around the world.
Yeah, it's
Yes,
so
they are.
sick, man.
And
It's so
they
sad.
They have
are.
no identity.
Yes, and it hits home here too. You say around the world. It's not in Australia, England. It's right here in Louisiana, zeroing in on Baton Rouge.
And I will pull out this plug. Our Attorney General Jeff Landry is doing an amazing job on his part to bring down pedophilia in
Great.
Louisiana against child abuse,
Thank you.
against
That's
child
great. Thank you, Jeff.
endangerment, against child sex trafficking.
That really does need to be in the forefront. That is just changing the world as we know it, unfortunately, because it's damaging so many people and so many families. So it's really
Look,
great to hear.
You went to Catholic school too. We know about the things that happen in Catholic school. We know about, especially I went to co-ed, but at one point my school was all boys and ran by Christian brothers. And manipulation and control happens through abuse, and you start the abuse as a child, and then we have these priests who cannot marry, and now that aspect of how the Catholic Church went on to play of control, start them young, make them altar boys. I can start sexually molesting them, i.e. control them, because it's not about the sex, it's about the control.
Yes.
And then move them into their pawns as they grow older. It's been done, but now we've broken that.
I'm glad that people aren't
the
looking at
break is
it as taboo to speak about it anymore. I feel like this has been happening for so many years, even within families and all of that. And it's like, hush, hush, don't talk about it. We don't talk about that. Now it's like
Yes, you're
we
right.
all need to step up and talk about it, because the more people talk about it, then people don't feel afraid to talk about it. We can relate to it, and we can
Yes.
stop it.
It needs to see the light
That's
of day.
true. That's
The
absolutely
true
true.
light is the light of day. We were under so many lights as children, bed lights, night lights, trying to put a little light in the dark, but the dark still happened, But when we bring it out and we talk about it as human beings, as spiritual people, spiritual souls within us, we learn how to work with each other on this.
Yes.
We learn how to go forward as opposed to keep it in the shadows of our world.
Absolutely. And it's, it's not a judgment type thing.
No.
You don't have to be afraid of being judged
No.
to come out about it. So
No.
And what you said is key. The key is to open that conversation, open that discussion. Don't be afraid to do it, because you'll find out there's so many like people of like mind like you that are going through the same thing or have the same thoughts or questions or whatever. So I know it's like on YouTube, especially trending on YouTube. There are discussions about everything that used to be once taboo to talk about, that you were just embarrassed to talk about or whatever. Now people are making whole YouTube channels talking about stuff, and I think that's great. Open that conversation up. Get those things out in the open so we can discuss them.
I think it's great too. YouTube has become the most powerful tool, man. Like people are
Yes.
really getting their voices out there, and things are trending. And if we could get important things trending, that's where it's at.
Absolutely, yep. What'd you take, Derrick?
Well, it's basically creating a platform like YouTube, Facebook, to what was once considered abnormal or taboo to become a social acceptably norm, to be able to talk about the traumas. Because, like he said, if you don't put a light on something, then at the end of the day, it allows for evil to keep going and propagating in the
Absolutely.
world.
Yes.
And that's the bottom line, because like from the law enforcement perspective, if I don't know what's going on, then I can't act on it. I can't build a case unless I have a victim or a complainant.
Mhm.
So it gives people or victims the strength and the ability to say, I'm not alone. I can come out here and I can deal with this. I have that courage because I saw this person stand up. So now I can stand up and face that person, and I can go out there and get the help that I need, or I can go out
Absolutely.
there and go to law enforcement and go after that person.
Yes.
They're not alone. They have a network of people that they can seek strength from. They're not
Absolutely.
alone out here in this world.
That is so true, man. You're right.
It's super important when people come out and talk about things that have happened to them. And I love when it's people that others look up to, or people who are seemingly strong or play strong roles in society or whatnot, because it shows that it's, it doesn't discriminate, man. Like things that happen to you throughout your life, it's not a discriminatory thing.
Right.
It doesn't matter your color, who you are, your background. Like things happen to
Yes.
everybody.
And they're so common.
Yeah, it's so common, and I hate that word because it should not be common.
Right. True. Yep. That is so true. So the key point of that is, the takeaway of that is talk about it, open up conversations. Don't be afraid to confide into somebody that you can trust, and open a conversation up if you have problems. And you'll find out a lot of times that things that you've gone through, you're able to help other people out because you've opened that conversation up. So very good.
I'm sorry, I'm getting ADD on my laptop.
I
I'm
know.
listening.
Yeah.
I'm listening.
I
I'm
was just
trying-
thinking, wow, that got deep really quickly.
I'm watching to see if we get any
true,
comments with the Dave K show with what we're talking about right now. You know,
Yes.
because the thing is, it's everything we're talking about is so fluid. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you remember back in the day when something would happen, something major would happen, and then it'd be like a couple months to a year, and then something major would happen again. Now we're getting major shit happening week
Yes.
after week after week, day after
That's
day
what I
after
was saying
day,
at the beginning of
hour
the
after
show.
hour after hour. Our minds are getting so bombarded with stuff. It wasn't like that when we were kids. It was Challenger, or it was 9/11, or it was this. But now it's every day is something of explosion
and
going
it's
on.
lessening the impact on us emotionally. Like I remember when the school shootings and stuff started, and we were
Right.
all like so taken back and like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is happening. And now it's like, oh, another one.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
It's crazy that that's become the norm.
Right. Like for us, it was one shooting. It was Columbine.
Right.
And then you
Yeah.
went
Yeah.
on
So
for
started it.
ever, and another one happened like 4 years later. Now it's like an almost everyday occurrence across the nation. You got a kid shooting one or two kids, or a kid shooting, and you got the left mindset. The left mindset wants to blame the gun, wants to blame, well, we need more gun control. Well, I'm sorry, if you have an individual who has it in their mind that they're going to go and violate the law to begin with, another law is not going to be a solution.
These are not law-abiding citizens to
Right.
begin
Right.
with.
We don't deal with that, right?
Absolutely. So making more laws on the books to change things it's not gonna solve things. Well, back when Columbine first started, I think it was 10-15% of schools actually had school resource officers.
Right.
So it was like, wait a second, well, let's reevaluate the school resource officer program and start putting officers in there. Well, what they realized with Parkland is they put the wrong police officers in the schools. They took the officers out to pasture, guys that had been on the road 20, 30 years, that they're now looking for their out, and they're about to ride their last 4 years into retirement, and they put those kind of officers into the school.
Yep.
Yes.
Now Florida is reevaluating their RSO program. They're like, wait a second. We put the wrong cops in there. We need to have the same kind of initiative-oriented
Exactly.
officers being put into the schools. So they're taking boots fresh out of the academy and saying, hey, look, we're going to put you through the tactical training. We're going to put you through all the cool guy training. And then we're going to put you into the schools.
Yeah.
That's ideal as far as I'm concerned. I mean, you got to get them motivated in there.
Correct.
Still in the point where they're passionate about it. They're ready to risk, anything for their job, for what their purpose is for the kids. That's the type of person I want at my child's school.
Correct.
Yes.
No offense to the guys that are, about to retire. It's not that, but it's just a different.
I'm not going in there for
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Take us who have crossed the pond, who have been in the sandbox,
Right.
who already had the tactical training, and there's no thought pattern.
Right.
We're trained, we know what needs to get done, and who in the right mind would want to actually do an act of terrorism in a school, whether you're a student or not, knowing that the person who is now going to be your adversary is a tactically military trained subject that was again tactically trained by American law enforcement. Bring that on.
Right.
Yes. Right.
Well, see, there's two sides to that coin. I mean, what I mean by two sides to that coin is there's schools right now all over the nation that are saying, wait a second, there's a solution to veterans coming from overseas that are now looking for jobs out in the job market, that have the knowledge, have the training, and are looking for jobs. We can put them in our schools and have them protect our private schools. And it's working. And they're really effective at what they do. They are great with the kids, and they're providing a service, and they feel like they have a mission-driven purpose. Then the other aspect of it is you don't have to worry about the aspect of one of us, because guys that come out of the service, females that come out of the service, we have something intuitively in our brain that wants to continue serving our communities, wants to continue serving in some type of facet. But if you look at, for example, Beslan in Russia, terrorists, rather it's domestic terrorism, when you look at white supremacists or militia-oriented groups, or if you look at religious-oriented terrorism like Islamic terrorism, like the Chechen rebels did in Beslan, they look at soft targets. They go, okay, if I can organize an attack and hit this soft target and I can get the max chaos, then that's what I'm going to do. And that's what happened in Beslan. They saw the first day of school where the kids and parents were going to be coming together. They went and hit that school, corralled all the parents and students into the cafeteria and in the gym, and placed IEDs all throughout the school, so that when the local law enforcement went to go try to act on it, they detonated. And when Spetsnaz showed up, it was a siege to be all sieges, and there was countless lives lost, not only law enforcement, but as well as who they took. Now, you look at things that we've seen on the battlefield, look at Iraq and Afghanistan, those same type of mindsets of how terrorists act, they do the same thing. It's not a question of if or when somebody gets that type of mindset here in the United States.
It's
when.
here. Yeah.
It's when. There's cells all over the place.
Oh, they're here, definitely. Anybody who doesn't believe that is just
Right, head in the sand.
wake up, man. They're here.
This reminds me of, we're thinking so locally, and sometimes we got to stop thinking so locally and think globally. This is also in our religions now.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying? And so it goes back to all the religious fighting that's ever happened since the Crusades, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And
Just
then
rehashed.
and then it's like, okay, we need protectors again. We need protectors in the church. We need those who are in the pews to be concealed carry trained. You know,
Yes.
that they can handle when something would happen. You know, in all of our churches, I don't care if it's a Catholic, if it's a
Yes,
mosque or whatever.
Mhm.
There are the good, and then there are the bad, and you have to understand that there are people who know the difference.
Correct. The worst thing that I've seen over the last probably month and a half is, you know, I'm sitting back and watching the Democratic left of the country that's putting out the Kamala Harris's and the Beto O'Rourke's and all of their presidential candidates, and the common denominator in every last one of them is we're going to come after the guns. We're going to come after the guns, and it's like, okay, let's play history, because if we don't study history, we're damned to repeat it. So we're going to use the most modern two examples of history right now, and then we'll go further back. You look at Australia and you look at England. Both of them were two law-abiding countries that had a couple minor incidences, and they said, all right, we'll give up all of our personal carry guns, and we'll give up all of our semi-automatic rifles, and we'll be good law-abiding citizens. Well, as soon as they did that, all your homicides, all your violent crimes skyrocketed. Well, guess what? The criminals didn't give up their guns.
Absolutely not. I'm so against that whole concept of doing that.
So,
Right.
so at which point, it's like, it's a moot point to try to even go after. Now, the other aspect of it is all three of us here, we swore to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States. It didn't say that we uphold the First Amendment, but we'll mitigate the
Right.
Second, and
Right.
we might abide by the
Right.
Fourth, Fifth,
Right.
and
Right.
section of
It
the
was cut and
Sixth.
dry.
It was
cut and dry.
It was very
Yes.
cut and dry that we will uphold
It's all or nothing.
the Constitution, the whole thing.
Right.
So when you have candidates and elected officials that took the same oath that we did, that are like looking at the Constitution and going, you know what, this is an imperfect document and I'm not going to abide by it, you are literally being secessionist and treasonous, and now you're falling into the line of domestic enemy number one. And
Yep.
you know, there were safeguards, and the reason why our founding fathers created the document the way they did was when a government became tyrannical, was for the people to stand up and remove them, either by the pulpit first peacefully.
Not for deer hunting, right?
Yeah.
See, a lot of people didn't realize it was to protect ourselves from the government.
Right.
A lot of people aren't aware of that, but
Both
if they were, I
foreign-
feel like they
both
could,
foreign
and domestic,
Right.
if they could open their eyes and see that, maybe they could start to get a different take on it. But
Yes.
Well, it absolutely is to be a different take on it. And what's scary about it is there's several articles out there from various different sources that talk about the mass majority of your metropolitan cities have gone so far left that they don't believe that in the future that the grassland flyover states will ever win another major election again. And if that ever happens, that you'll see a balkanization of the United States. And that's a very, very frightening aspect, because
Civil War, man.
absolutely.
Yes, that's right.
And that's a very
So you're saying a tipping point, right?
if we don't stop and take a look at what we are doing as far as the fractioning of ideologies and the fractioning of thought processes, then there is going to come a point where we are going to go by way of Eastern Europe. We're going to go by way of every other country because of how we are currently going. Because you can go into any restaurant right now and you listen to a table conversation, and people will be so ideologically against our current president that they're laughing at the impeachment thing. I watched the entire thing this week. The man didn't do anything illegal. High crimes and treason is what the words of impeachment is. There's nothing he did wrong.
We're arguing so much amongst ourselves as America that imagine what the terrorists and stuff are thinking. Like, we are all a soft target
Do you
right
know-
now.
and
Right.
if I can just interject in real quick, what we're arguing about is the same equivalent of like, let me ask you something. Like, I want extra peanut butter, but I want some jelly. But hey, not too much jelly. I don't want too much jelly. Okay, a little bit, just a little smear of peanut. It's so stupid.
The focus is ridiculous.
Yes, it is.
Correct. It's like literally hyphenations on top of hyphenations. But it was kind of funny because like everything that they were trying to fuss about what Trump was doing, I literally relate it back to something that Obama did at some point in time in his 8 years as president, and I was like, wait. And then what cracked me up was, as I thought about it, is I remember 2 weeks before the election, actual election of Donald Trump, they said that they were worried about him accepting the outcome of the election. But if you stop and you think about it, the Democrats for the last 3 years have done everything that they were worried about Trump doing. They've not once accepted him as the president. Not once. And they've done everything from day one saying, now this is when we have
Well,
to
he's your
him.
president, guys. So
Right,
whether you like it or
not.
not,
Right.
you
Yeah.
know.
I mean,
Absolutely.
I don't think you're going to see Eddie Rispone getting in vehicles right now, getting all his friends and say, I want another election. I
Nope.
want another. Hey, I apologize for doing a really bad Eddie Rispone.
Right.
He has a little high voice like
It
that.
was all right.
But
Yeah.
but the point is that
True.
he's not going to act like that.
No, he's
No.
gonna go back into business.
He's going
Right.
to go back to his business
Yep.
and
Serving
call it.
others and being a good, humble servant to his country, his state, and his God.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's like people seriously have to reevaluate how they do things. Like,
It's a sensitivity issue
mhm.
with everything, with our kids, with some of our adults now, our kids that are becoming the adults that are going to be running this world soon enough.
It almost seems like there's an intentional divide, though. It's like
It's making America weak. And we
Absolutely
are
it is.
allowing it. We're allowing it as parents. We're allowing it as subordinate. Like, we're just allowing it all across the board, and we are ruining it.
absolutely.
That's what the
Yes.
Democrats want. Let's make America weak again.
Right?
Let's
Right.
make America scared again. Let's make America frightened again. Let's make America stay in the houses again, as opposed to let's make America great again.
We need to spank some asses again
Thank you.
so we can get
Yes.
us back on track and stop
Yes, right.
babying
Thank you.
Americans.
I just want everybody to realize, for the record, that it was Amber who said it's time for everyone to spank some asses because
Right.
it sometimes it comes from a powerful female that needs to be to
Sure.
say that.
Mhm.
We as men talk so much about kicking ass and taking names, but I think a strong female, it's important for y'all to say, you know something, we believe in kicking ass and taking names, and it needs to be done.
Absolutely. And I don't mean violence solves everything. That's not what I mean. But
Right.
even starting at home, we need to feel comfortable with spanking our children. That's just my personal opinion. I grew up that way. I
Sure,
mean, it wasn't
definitely.
abuse, though. I mean, obviously there's a line, and that's a whole different conversation. But everybody wants to scream like sensitivity and abuse and all this stuff, and like people are scared. And why, as an American, would I want to cause more controversy with other Americans just because my beliefs are a little different, rather than finding a way for us to come together and work together? Because we're stuck with it regardless.
you. That's right.
Right. I'm going to say it like this, and this is the best way I can say it. I'm a stark independent, and whenever it comes to elections, when it comes to anything like that, I've never been one to vote just by party lines. I vote based on best sound decisions. But when it comes to commander-in-chief, I was in the service under George Bush. I was in the service under Obama, and I was in service under the last years whenever I was getting out. It was during the election cycle, and I would have been in the first year of Trump. And either way it would have been absolute respect for all the commanders in chiefs.
Right.
Because like you said, it was one of those things that when you're in the service, you're kind of taught to respect your president. It doesn't matter what the party line is or
It
anything
should be
like
taught
that.
as an American, though. You shouldn't
Right.
have to be in the service to feel that way. And we need to step up as Americans and become more
Definitely.
respectful
It's
to the leaders in our country.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's not about okay party lines, because what people get wrapped around is, oh, I register as a Democrat, I register as a Republican. Guys, ladies and gentlemen, I hate to break this to you. They stopped civics a long time ago, which is one of the worst things. But they're birds of the same feather. Without
Yes, they
one, they can't have another, and without either one of them, the bird falls to the ground. So they make wheels, they make deals in order for things to work out. And when they stop wheeling and dealing, it falls apart.
Absolutely.
I want to just take this moment real quick. We have a lot of people watching right now on
Great.
Facebook that are part of the enlightened community.
Excellent.
David,
Good.
I brought you into it. You know,
I appreciate it. Yes,
I
thanks.
brought you into a lot of groups that you've seen and you've read what they write. You read that it's not about politics, that it's truly about thinking above and beyond, thinking outside of ourselves to serve others, which is what all four of us know around here.
Absolutely.
And I think when you go with that dynamic of learning about service before self, you know, there's a reason why we run into buildings that are on fire.
Right.
There's a reason why we run to the gunshots. It's because there's something a little bit different in us
Yes.
that we have the ability to say, I'm not afraid, and I am ready to take care of my fellow man, and I'm ready to die for my fellow man to make sure that they live. And not everybody has that mentality. Not everybody understands that. It takes a certain group of people to do that. And it's not saying that all of them have to be first responders. It's just as those who have served their country and served their community, we learn a little bit more what it means to be under that pressure.
Well, you learn your fight or flight reflex.
Yeah.
That's whenever
Right.
you know for sure which one you fall into, which category you fall into.
Mm,
But if
yes.
people would just take all titles away and we just try to do the best we can and be the nicest we can and give as much as we can, then we could all come together more. I'm not trying to have a, we are the world moment right here, but
All
it's
right.
so
But why-
true.
but why
People are
not?
focused on titles.
No,
Right.
you're right.
Democrat,
You're right.
Republican,
If
black,
people-
white, whatever it is. It's
Yes,
all
divide
it
and
really should be
conquer.
obsolete.
If people learn to compromise, because like literally you could have a conversation with somebody and take away something, rather what opinion they have, because I can't tell you how many times I've had legitimate conversations with people and walked away and gone, you know what, that does make sense. It's when you have a willingness to listen and take away something and go, you know what, that does make sense.
Absolutely. To listen, not just to speak, but to listen to actually hear it.
Absolutely.
I want to go back to you saying something, Amber, about we are not the world, but we are. We are the world.
No, I didn't want to have the we are the world moment, like,
But-
world peace or
right.
whatever. But my
But-
point is we could really do something here.
Right.
It's
But it takes for us thinking globally that we can change the difference, that we can change the difference in the world, because if we can change the world in our world, in your world individually, in your world individually, my world, and David's world individually, and make a difference in someone's life that drastically changes their life, whether we save them or whatever, in the moments of our service, who's to say that others can't get on the same board and say, I got it? It is a global,
Right.
because it becomes global when we start thinking of our world around us. And if each person does that, then that's another spark. Then that's another spark. Then that's another spark.
Absolutely.
And slowly by slowly, we can take down the deep stink. We can take down the cabal. We can take down these people who have always told us, no, you can't, because you have to be afraid. When you say, hey, we don't have to be afraid. We
No.
just have to feel.
Exactly.
Yes, thank you. That's great.
And one thing the deep state is absolutely incredibly good at is absolutely doing everything they can to divide us. And the reality of it is,
divide and conquer, man. That's what they're
Yes.
good at.
Yes, it is. Definitely, that's so good. One thing I've noticed in a lot of elections, I don't know if you've noticed this as well, but I noticed a lot of elections are getting so close to 50-50 in the voting.
correct.
My goodness, I mean, I don't know if we're polarizing to the center as a country or what, but these elections are. I think the governor's race was won by 16,000 people.
I thought it was incredible to watch on TV for a moment when it was at like 80-something%, and it was, and if I get maybe on 60, but to see 50-50 up there, I hadn't seen that in a governor's race like
Right.
that. in a very long time. Just take a moment about that. So there is good going on in this world around us. There are people who are waking up. They may live in the parishes of Point Coupee, or they may live in the parishes of Avoyelles, but they went to go see a man named Donald J. Trump, who brought people together to talk about things as a community we should really love. You know, he went to those communities, and they went and they voted, and they got out of their countries. They got out of their little bayous. They left the gravel road and went to a polling place, and they voted. They always pretty much stayed home. They took care of their families. They raised pigs. They fished, and they just did, and they watched LSU, and thank God LSU won, right?
We watched LSU.
Yeah, you know. Look, we could be we could be red and blue, but we'll always be Saints.
There you go.
We'll always be Go Saints,
Right.
and we'll always be
Get that,
LSU.
Chris. Catch your shirt, Chris.
Oh, right. There you go. Who that, baby?
That's it.
Hey, real quick, Chris, back there. Do we have a score of the Saints game right now? We have any scores?
Yeah, pull it up and see, Chris. See what
We don't
got.
have it, but I can get it for you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's important for us to know if the game's even going on right now.
Yeah, and once
If the
again,
game's-
call our line 225-713-5099 if you want to chime in on the conversation. I know somebody out there is watching. Anybody, just give us a call. Let us know you're listening.
Yeah, even if you can
definitely.
maybe Facebook message us.
Yeah, anything, if you don't
the
wanna talk.
Facebook, the Dave K Show asks a question. I know we got people from Australia right now watching us right
Interesting.
now. We got,
Wow.
That's rad.
you know,
Yeah.
we think we're sitting in this little booth in this box and we're just talking about Point Coupee and talking about this, but so much of what we talk about is global, and people are yearning for knowledge. They're yearning for information. They want to be taught the right way because they knew the bullshit that they went through was bullshit, and somebody just had to classify and say, yeah, guess what? You were right.
Yeah,
Right.
label it.
You were fucking fooled, you know?
Right.
And so now as a collective, we're all here to learn. We're all here to learn from each other because that's the only way to really learn. As a Mason, do we go by someone? No, we go mouth to ear. We learn from another Mason. And look, I'm going to say this about Masonry. It has its own thing, and on a big level, and there is bad aspects to it. And yeah, I'm obligated, but I will say this: there are true enlightened Masons out there. There are amazing enlightened Masons who see the picture of what the whole thing was about. That you don't talk about things outside of Lodge that you talk about in Lodge, because in the end, it's about the family of who we are, and we're all a family. We're all a family. It doesn't matter your color. We're all going to bleed red, right? I mean,
Right.
is there anyone who's not a human being on earth who's not going to bleed? If you're a human being and you don't bleed red, you probably are a reptilian.
Right.
and I just
You're
said
an
that.
alien.
Yeah,
Right.
well, not even an alien, but a reptilian, and because it just there's so much bullshit out there, y'all.
Right.
We have to come
Yes.
together.
You were one step ahead of me because I was actually going to go in that direction. Believe it or not.
Hey, y'all,
So,
I'm just seeing something that
side
says
note,
live video interrupted.
Answer. The final score was Saints 34 and Tampa Bay 17.
okay.
Go Saints. Now I'm seeing on Facebook that it was interrupted. Maybe it's back on. I see it's moving again.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I saw what one of our things I locked up earlier, but yeah, just send a text message to somebody and make sure we're still good.
Okay, I'm gonna text message to the group.
Yeah, but make sure we're still good and everything. Because I want to go in another direction. I knew that was going to happen. It always does. I do want to go in the quote reptilian direction or whatever. Maybe not so much as that, but as far as us as a species, and that we're not the only ones on this earth that, as we know it, pretty much. I know Alex can he can verify that.
Right.
A lot of stuff, and also Derrick too, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But there's this whole world out there that most people just aren't enlightened on. That in our world that we're living in, there's a lot more stuff going on that people know. Most people don't even look up at the stars at night.
Isn't that sad?
That really is sad. It's so
Isn't that sad?
beautiful.
They
I
don't.
love the sky. I love the stars.
Right.
I love being outside. It's just such a beautiful thing. And it's a moment where you get to feel so tiny. And I love that feeling. I
And-
don't know why. It's just an enlightening feeling.
and yet a part of it all at the same
Right?
time.
Yes. Right. Go lay down in the grass and look up at the stars for about an hour one night.
That-
Just you might see a shooting star.
True
You might
that.
see something. Right.
True that, right?
Yes. Exactly. It's your
Get in
little.
some grass.
Your
Make
little
your
world.
feet. Take off your shoes and go step in some grass, y'all.
Yes.
I mean, seriously.
Right.
We're so used to concrete. We're so just let the skin feel the grass. You know,
Very
feel like a
important.
kid again, like I did growing up in the country on the bayou.
The things you appreciate when you
Yeah.
don't have them.
Yeah.
Rain.
Right.
Rain. Rain was mine. The first time I felt rain when I came back was like the most heavenly thing on the face of this planet.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Definitely. I
But
feel
you
you.
don't have it.
Yeah.
And if you notice, most people will name things that have no monetary value when you're missing something. Like, I wonder what the percentage would be. I'm sure it would be things like just stepping on the grass or rain or getting in the water in a lake somewhere or something. It's never like, oh, I missed going to the mall and buying something. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
It really brings you back to what's important.
The
Right.
essence.
Yes. That's right. You never know what you got till it's gone. The things that are really important in your life, for sure. A lot of people say, what about like a good home cooked meal? You know, like you eat this military food all the time.
Yeah, we're back on.
And-
We're good.
Okay,
Yeah,
great.
Yeah. Okay.
Is camera A working with Alex and Derrick?
Let's do a, let's
All right,
do
cool.
let's
Good.
do a check. Okay. Yeah,
Okay,
it's
cool.
working. Cool.
Okay, we're good.
Yeah.
All right, sounds good.
You said military food. I didn't mind the military food.
Okay.
I didn't mind. I didn't mind
Surf and
MREs
turf.
either. I still love the cheese packs from the
Yes.
MREs, man. I used to like hoard those and like sneak them to the barracks.
I have to tell you an honest question, an honest answer, and I know both of y'all had more MREs, right?
Mm-hmm.
I never really had to eat one in my entire military career.
I
Why?
bet you
You were a
didn't.
chef, though.
Well, I was on board an aircraft carrier, so
Oh.
we constantly had food.
Yeah.
We always had food. Didn't have to ever resort to
Interesting.
MREs.
I should have joined the Navy.
When we had our deployment, when we were leaving to go out to sea for a deployment, we had steak and king crab legs and
Jeez, come
boiled
on.
shrimp on an aircraft carrier
Wow.
for 5,000 people.
Wow.
Yeah, we would even have steel beach picnics on the flight deck where they flew in beer, and we got to
But
have
you know what?
beer
You
on it.
deserve to be treated that way. I'm not gonna hate on that.
No.
Like
I
that's
know.
where the money should go. Like,
But you guys should have had that too. That's what I don't understand. Like, because we had the technology to make that. We have the people to make it happen. We can make it happen. Why does one branch have to suffer and one branch doesn't? And they say,
So I'm gonna
Okay.
be straight up.
Oh, yeah.
Like we had surf and turf on Tuesdays. It was
Right.
just the fact of getting surf and turf on Tuesdays when you had to roll out on mission. Like you'd come back into the chow hall and be like, "So is there any surf and turf left?" Be like, "Nope." Sandwiches at the sandwich bar. Be like,
I don't recall any steak days, but the food was pretty good. I mean, it wasn't like New Orleans style Cajun
well,
food, but
no.
of course
it
not.
wasn't
No.
like, oh my
contracted.
gosh, I'm going to suffer through
right,
this.
right, exactly.
Right.
Good,
Yeah.
good then.
Yeah.
good,
That's pretty cool.
good.
So did anybody gain weight on the carrier eating all that good food?
Well, we did a lot of PT. We still had,
Yeah, you worked it
we
off.
still had to keep our weight. We still PT. We had gyms inside an aircraft carrier. I want to say there's three or four gyms inside an aircraft carrier that's open to all, both enlisted and officer.
But
And
you can
then-
work out with your body weight without any machines at all.
Yeah, you
like
do.
some people are stuck
Yes.
on, I gotta go to a gym and
But
do
it's
this
a-
and that, but you don't have to.
Look, y'all, it's all about portion control. America has fucked y'all because they
Man.
decided to
Supersize
supersize
everything.
Right.
Right.
You know, everything you need is in the size of your palm. This is all the amount you need to eat. And any dietitian will tell you the same thing. This is the exact amount you need to eat. And you can do it maybe 3 times a day. You can do it twice a day. You can do it however you want to do it. And fasting is really not that bad either. Fasting is a part of how our bodies grow and how we learn to grow intellectually by sometimes keeping a little bit away from us. Fasting a little bit.
Sure,
I mean,
yeah.
why did Jesus go in the desert? He went to the desert to fast. And in
Yes.
that fasting, he gained knowledge and wisdom. And in that wisdom is what we use to help our fellow human beings.
Yes, right. Yeah.
True.
You're more sensitive spiritually when you fast.
Yes.
Yes. Very, very good points to make for sure.
And it makes you have a good looking body because you don't have to work
Yes,
out.
the benefits,
And
right.
like it just happened like this.
It just be like that
It
sometimes.
just be like that sometimes.
Right. So yeah, my son's in the army right now in Hawaii of all places, but he had
Poor
really,
him.
I
He's
know,
just
really.
suffering in Hawaii.
Yes, it's amazing.
Schofield Barracks, the worst place on the planet. Oh my God.
Right. But he enjoys the food. But of course, on the base, you can go and get whatever you want to eat. Pretty much. I mean, he just goes wherever. He doesn't have to eat the Army's food. So that's a pretty cool deal. I guess being deployed is different than being on the base for a little while. So
The
I would-
Army's food is free, man.
I would
Eat
be.
it.
I mean,
yeah,
honestly, if I'm getting paid BAH or whatever, I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna have tuna poke every day. I'm not gonna.
Right.
It's gonna be a tuna poke day every day. Just there's something about good tuna, fresh, raw flavors.
Yes,
Okay.
that's great.
I know Cajuns. I had 5 Cajuns that said he don't know what the roux he's talking about.
With the roux.
That is something. So where you working at right now? Do you pretty much just cook high-end meals for people, or do you cook just a variety of different things? Or
I love the
let's say
City
high.
Club. I love the City Club of Baton Rouge. I love being a part of the City Club of Baton Rouge. I've been there for a year now. I have an amazing executive chef. I have a great staff. They all work and come together, and it's about truly service. We have everything from a prime ribeye topped with crawfish and mushroom sauce to chicken fingers if you want it.
Okay.
It is
Yeah.
literally what the guest wants, and that's one of the things about the City Club that makes it very different than a restaurant. First off, it's a private dining club. They paid to be a part of it. And second of all, when you pay for membership like that, there are benefits that go with that. And the benefits is you walk into your own little restaurant and you can pick out what you want to eat. And if it's not on the menu, there's a good shit chance that they're going to get it for you. Whether it's a smoothie, I've seen smoothies
Were
come
kids
in.
allowed there?
Yeah.
Well, then it makes sense. They have a lot of times children don't like I don't know, luxury cuisine. They get free. Some do, but I'm just saying not all. Most kids are down for some chicken fingers. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
I mean, every kid's
The
gonna love a
basics.
chicken finger, but if a dad and look, my dad did it to me. I remember one time he brought us into a sushi restaurant. We were 13, 12 years old. Excuse me. He literally said, I'm talking about food, I'm belching. He said, "You're gonna have a bite of sushi. We don't have to eat here, but I want you to try it." So having conditions like that was very nice. I can taste something I'm afraid of. and
Exactly. You don't know that you don't like
Right.
it until you try it.
And if I don't like it, that's great. I can still go eat somewhere else. Give the children an option like that. Don't make them feel it's eat this or that's it, because then that's when the palate starts to grow. That's when you start to learn. Give them that. Yeah, you can have your chicken fingers, but I want you to try this.
I have a rule of trying everything twice. The first time to find out I don't like it, and the second time to make sure. The problem is I do that in all aspects of my life, and that doesn't
Flip it. You need
Oh,
to
that
boy.
flip
doesn't
it.
always work out for
You
me.
gotta
But
flip it.
no, I agree with that. My kids eat vegetables and whatever it may be. I mean, she would rather eat raw vegetables as a snack than junk food, which I love.
Yeah.
But you gotta kind of not force them, but kinda to try it because they don't know.
Yeah, I mean, Dave, you guys, y'all gonna have an amazing menu for your party.
Yeah, I
there.
can't wait. Well, they gave us so many options to choose from.
Yeah,
It's
let's
like,
talk about it now while I'm starving.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah, well, let's do that. Yes. No, really. But so they gave me this like a booklet of
Yeah.
okay, this is the stuff that we have available for our party coming up,
Mhm.
and I'm going like okay. So I guess it's how much money we have to spend is what it boils down to.
Right. But
And
sky's
so-
the limit regardless, man. And no,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter what tier you're going to go with. It's going to be a great tier. You're going to have a lot of fun. You're going to have a lot of food.
Right.
your
And that's the
guests are
main
gonna be
thing of
happy.
any party is the food. I'm sorry. That's the main thing.
Food and open bar. Don't
Yes.
forget open bar.
Yes. And the music too will have a lot to do with it too. So all our past musical guests will be there also.
Oh,
If-
really?
If people don't know what we're talking about, let me just tell people what we're talking about real quick. Initially, we had this scheduled for November 30th of this month a while back, but the City Club got back with me. We're going to have our party at the City Club, and they said probably November is not a good time, or December with Christmas.
Right,
Let's get
right.
past the holidays
That's
and
right.
get everything worked out. Then probably end of February, early March would probably be better up in that time
Right.
frame.
That
So-
sounds like a great time
yes.
to do it.
So what we're going to do is we're going to have a 50th podcast celebration party with all of our cast and crew and all of our past guests at the City Club. And so it's going to be, we have 200 people on a list that we can invite. And, of course, all of our past guests and their families can come free of charge. And we were going to charge a fee for other people to get in, like probably $30 or something, because they're getting entertainment, they're getting food, they're getting music, they're getting networking.
Yeah,
You're getting
a lot,
like top notch
a lot
food
of
too.
a lot of
Right.
networking. Yeah, they're going to
They're
get.
not just getting like some little trays of hors d'oeuvres and stuff. They're getting
no,
like a
right.
legit
Yes.
luxury meal.
This
Right.
ain't. This is not the Holiday.
This ain't the middle of the
Inn.
mall, y'all. This ain't the middle of the mall.
Right,
Right.
right, exactly, on the food court. Right.
Now, this is downtown Baton Rouge, right across from where the old state capitol is, in that area, in that beautiful, beautiful area.
Oh my
and
gosh,
a beautiful, beautiful
the venue
building.
is absolutely incredible. I mean,
It's gonna
oh
be
my
an
gosh.
experience. $30 for an experience.
Yes,
Count me in.
It's you'll be
Easy.
in, but you're part of the crew. You get in free of charge.
Oh man, see, and I would have paid
Yes.
$30.
No,
I would have
keep your
paid
money.
$30,
Keep your money. Keep your money.
and I worked there.
Exactly right.
That's when you know it's good.
Right. It'll be from 6 to 10. So it'll be 4 hours, and I try and have it locally. I'm not going to diss anybody locally out here, but the people locally in New Rose, I'm not going to pay $10,000 for a 3-hour party at a certain place in New Roads. Ain't gonna happen.
Wow.
So there's no way. And that's whatever. Thank goodness you came along and told me about Carnell Dukes, our mayor. And so I contacted Carnell Dukes. So we're good
Dude,
to go.
that's what the whole thing is about, y'all. And what a great example. We're here to serve, and we're here to serve each other, because that's what it's about, man.
Yes,
That's all what it's
Networking.
about.
It's exactly right. So it's really a promotional tool that I use for the show, because I want to, and we're going to invite 225 Magazine out there. We're going to invite an advocate for the fun section to come out there and write a story, blow it up in the media. Heck, Channel 2, Channel 9, get them out here. They're always looking for a good weekend story.
That's right.
And they go like, Dave K Show, what is this all about? Okay, you can have Sheriff Bud Torres. She's a Louisiana native. Number 2, I'm the president of tourism in Point Capee Parish. Billy Nungesser has tapped Lauren Daigle to be over tourism for the state.
Yeah, that's correct.
So I think with our tourism offices, if I can contact Billy Nungesser, he can do our groundwork for us and maybe get her over here.
Anybody out there who knows Lauren, please let her know
Thank you,
that
yes.
she is wanted over here.
Yes.
Absolutely.
If she's on tour and she's in the area in Lafayette, she's always coming over here on tour.
Right.
She was in Lafayette recently.
Yeah.
New Orleans too. So hey, come over here to New Roads, Louisiana. We'll keep it on the low down.
Y'all remember,
Everybody
all
know.
roads
Lead to New Roads.
That's right.
We did not even practice that.
No, we actually didn't. I put it on Facebook a couple hours
Right.
ago, but I was
Oh.
like, all roads do lead to New Roads,
Right.
if you think about it, the bigger picture of things. But hey, that was great,
That
everybody.
That
was
was a
great.
good
I'm
job.
so proud.
Good job.
There you go.
Where's the wine when we need it, man?
Right?
Toast. That's awesome. And also I talked to E. Eric Gaylord. Well, people are watching. We're just goofing off, talking here and everything. So I talked to E. Eric Gaylord on Instagram, and I invited him on the show. He wants to come on the show, but I want to have everything ready to go when it comes. Why do I want to get E. Eric Gaylord of all people on the show? Well, there's a whole lot of E. Eric Gaylord is a larger than life character. If you know him.
My child knows his commercials like the back of her hand. All of those commercials, like I swear, kids
Right.
just absorb them. So
See, he's a marketing genius.
he really is a marketing genius.
Yes, he is. So, as you know, what happened to Eric Gaylord, he was disbarred, for 6 years because I think his paralegals were handling a lot of cases, and they caught on to that. Disbarred him. He was out of the limelight. Well, guess who took his place when the vacuum hit? Gordon McKernan.
Oh, I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, so E. Eric Gaylord had the E guarantee. Well, he got disbanded. Gordon McKernan came on with the G guarantee. So meanwhile, E. Eric Gaylord gets his bar license back to practice law. Somebody took my slogan and made the E guarantee the G guarantee. So he took
Wow.
him to court. So we got these two high-profile lawyers battling each other in court. I would love to hear his take on the story.
That would be a great
Yeah.
live court.
He got the E guarantee
Situation.
back.
Really?
He got it back.
I wonder how much Mr. Gaylord had to pay. That's what I'd
See,
like to
I
know.
want to get him in the hot seat right here, and I wanna ask
I'll
you.
ask him. Don't worry.
There you go. That's your job, right?
I ain't scared. I'll ask him.
right.
Be like, how much did that pocketbook have to love?
Right. And I want. Hey, look, we're candid. It's the good and the bad. Left, right, or whatever. I want to ask from the man himself, in his opinion, being a lawyer, with all the billboards like Gordon McKernan, how do you feel that has affected the insurance industry rates? Because you can consider yourself an ambulance chaser because you're advertising. If you get injured, call us. We'll help you out. We'll get you millions of dollars. So I would like to ask it from him personally. How do you think your industry?
That'd be an interesting
Right. And it's a
answer.
fair
I would
question,
love
right?
to hear that for
It's
sure.
a fair question.
Personally, for me, I think insurance should be something that kind of like taxes. Like you pay into it if you don't use it, or I mean, of course, with taxes, it's not you don't use it, but you should get a percentage back at the end of the year if you did not have to tap into
That's
your
interesting thought.
insurance.
Interesting thought.
Which
That's
I know
why-
that it funds everybody else and all this insurance that's paid out, but maybe they should switch that up a little bit. I'm just saying, insurance is just hell. I hate
Right.
insurance
But
with
it's
a
one of the few
passion.
things we're required to purchase as
Exactly.
Americans.
And you
Yeah.
have to have it. The risk is so high if you don't, you know.
And the way the state penalizes
an
you
hour
if you
and
don't,
10.
it's horrible.
I'm gonna bust in real quick.
Go ahead.
because I like doing some bullshit like this.
Go ahead.
I busted a mirror and I got 7 years bad luck, but my lawyer thinks that he can get me for 5. What did the lawyer name his daughter? Come on, y'all. We can do
Oh
this one.
boy.
Sue.
Oh,
A man is in a negotiation room and says, "I'm not saying a word without my lawyer present." "You are the lawyer," said the policeman. "Exactly. So where's my present?" replied the lawyer. That was really bad.
that was pretty bad.
That was just again the things you read on the internet, right? It ain't my fault.
That's
I love it.
great.
I'm just the messenger.
How are we on time, Chris?
Oh, we're about an hour and 10.
Well, hour and 10. Okay.
Yeah, it's
All
pretty
We'll,
good.
we'll go a few more minutes.
Yeah.
We ain't got nowhere to go.
I mean, I'm hungry now with all this talk about food.
I know.
All right.
Let's end on Q, man.
Yes, let's talk about that. So let me ask you this real quick.
Yeah.
So when we talk about the Q, and I wish there was another letter we could use of the alphabet that would bypass the AI, but maybe we could say O because it's the O without the little squiggly thing.
That's right. It's a 1 and a 0 put together.
Never thought about that.
Think about it.
Never thought about it. So there's Q and there's Q and 9 from what I heard. Right? Q and 9 in my thing of research was an individual or a group of people who came out. They call it a far right conspiracy theory, or whatever, against Trump, pretty much, to try to dismantle him or whatever. Talk about that.
No, QAnon is for Trump. It's the media that's trying to
I
break
got you,
down
right.
what it's all about.
That's
Okay?
Fox, right?
Fox is a contributor to Donald Trump. Supports his, but they also fair and balanced. They will say a couple things here and there that they don't support that Trump has done.
See, but I don't mind that.
But we're right.
I
Me-
like the
me neither.
reality of that.
Right. So
you know.
we're gonna cue back a little bit.
No pun
So
intended.
the
Right.
Or maybe
president,
maybe
the
pun intended.
president went to the Bama and
Mhm.
LSU game. He was there.
Oh
he was
yeah.
he
talk
was
about
loved
that.
by so many that were there. CBS was nationally covering it. CBS never at once ever showed the president or the fanfare that he got from when he got there. Another thing is Clay Higgins, who is a really good friend of mine, and hopefully he'll still be a good friend of mine after I say this. He posted on his Facebook page.
Punch Alex up on the video, Chris.
He posted on his Facebook page. He was part of the suite that was with the people with Trump.
He was there with Trump, right?
Garrett Graves was there. Clay Higgins was there, and a bunch of other people, probably also with Alabama too, representatives and everything. Clay catches a picture of him signing a helmet. That helmet happens to be 17. Now, people are saying, well, that was because of how many games I think Alabama had won before or something. But it's the number 17, and you can flip that because the number 17 in the alphabet is Q.
Interesting.
He
Wow.
has signed other things in the White House, 17. Not his number, which would be whatever his presidential number
40
is.
something. Whatever,
Right, okay? He likes to sign 17.
Interesting.
Hmm.
Huh.
And Clay just happened to be doing a selfie, and he's signing a 17 helmet. I understand. I get the symbolic aspects of 17 to Alabama, but the fact that Q 17, Q plus, is signing a 17 helmet. I just thought that was,
Interesting.
and just to get that moment in time of Clay taking that picture when that's happening, people do things subconsciously sometimes. We do things that the universe around us is a part of, and you just got to go with it sometimes and just let the universe do its thing because it's all about goodness. It's about really the truth. I mean, the X-Files always said the truth was out there. They said at the end of the show, at the beginning of the show, in that clip, people like John D'Souza, people like Laura Eisenhower, people like Ben Chastain and Rob Counts, these people, Brenda, who's out there, these people, they're doing so much, not just for the conspiracy realist community, but so much for bringing this to the mainstream message. Fox News now talks about the deep state. They just come out and say it.
Right.
They say the word.
Wow.
There's no fear in it anymore because if they can do it on a mainstream level, then it's okay for us to talk about it now. Rush Limbaugh, who's been a conservative radio host for 30-plus years, talking about the deep state. This is radio shows that my dad listened to, that still listen to.
That's progress.
That's progress.
Yes, it is.
So what I'm talking about isn't just a young thing. It isn't a young 40-year-old idea. People who have been voted for president, both the father and the son Bush, are finally getting the idea that, yeah, the Republican Party before is not the Republican Party that is now. It is not them. It is not those secrets. I mean, you and I were talking about the fact that Obama, when he talked about Osama bin Laden being killed, did it in a prepared speech.
Right.
Okay. No reporters were asking questions. It was, you said what needed to get said, turn around and walk away.
Right.
Trump comes in to talk about our ISIS leader who was killed
I loved that, by the way.
and had a literally
Yes.
live with reporters declassing as much as he could
Yes.
right then and there. No conspiracy thought processes, nothing about what if this happened or this happened. Or
It wasn't
I-
scripted. It was
I
off
told
the cuff.
you.
Yep.
I told you what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We even saw the
And
dog.
my big takeaway was that too is there's a big difference between Obama and Trump too. Was when Obama did it, it was I. When it was Trump, it was those guys, this command, this group, this
Right.
group. It wasn't him taking credit for anything.
Right.
And that was a big thing because at the end of the day, it is never the person in the Oval Office that puts his neck on the line.
I agree. But, that could have been poor writing because obviously he read everything off a script. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
And you make a very valid
Yeah.
point.
So,
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
no, you
puppet.
and you're right. And then those reporters could have had scripts too. But the point is that the version of the narrative is different. Okay.
Oh, I agree with that for sure.
The way the narrative is being delivered is different versus I'm gonna have a speechwriter. He writes it. This is great. Sounds good. Get the cameras ready. Let's set up. I'm reading
No,
this.
Trump is raw.
Yeah,
Trump,
Yes.
completely
y'all,
raw.
he's
Yes,
an
he is.
entertainer.
Oh, absolutely.
He's
That's why he's so
yeah,
rich.
He was
Showman.
The Apprentice. Look what he did on NBC with Apprentice. He's an actor. He supported Arnold Schwarzenegger with running for governor. Jesse Ventura, okay? People who've been in wrestling and in movies who have a message that he knows is the message of truth. And yeah, Arnold Schwarzenegger married a Kennedy, Maria Shriver, who's part of the Kennedy. On YouTube years ago who said there were two Donald Trumps. One wears a red tie, one wears a blue tie. I know this may sound out the
Interesting.
bag, but this guy said this. And
I've
he
never heard that, but I want to start paying
And,
attention.
Right,
but the
yeah,
guy
Google
said
it.
the guy who is the real Donald Trump, the one who makes and hold on, what is Donald Trump's Twitter feed? The real Donald Trump? Is
It
that not
is,
it
it
is?
is.
Okay,
Right.
so the real Donald Trump is always wearing his red tie.
He goes ham on Twitter, man. That's one thing
yes.
about Donald being raw. It's like sometimes we're going to agree with it and sometimes we're going to be like, whoa, dude, you did not just say that.
Right.
And
It
it's
is what he
there
thinks.
forever.
And if you listen to Trump speak, sometimes he actually
Right.
says Trump as himself in third person.
Really
Sometimes,
That doesn't surprise me at all.
interesting.
but it's
Kind
not
of a
it's not
narcissist
an
a little
ego
bit.
thing. I don't think it's an ego thing. I think it's
Oh,
a two people thing.
yeah.
Okay.
Back on strange conspiracies with the Trump. Have you seen the Trump conspiracy with him being a time traveler?
Yeah, well,
Oh,
that's
no.
Project Looking Glass, y'all.
Yeah.
Oh, and I didn't
That's
see
Project
that.
Looking
I
Glass.
haven't
Which,
either.
Okay, so there's and I'm gonna mess up the titles of the books. So
okay, but you have to. Let's go on what's going current now. Q posted about what's called Project Looking Glass on a couple of days ago. Project Looking Glass is a program that was a secret program in the military with the Montauk program dealing with LSD. Okay.
Right.
Now, what is the Project Looking Glass, or what is the Looking Glass? People believe that people like Bob Lazar, they know what the Looking Glass is, and it is a seat from a reverse-engineered spacecraft.
Tell people who Bob Lazar is real quick.
Bob Lazar worked in Area 51 and S4. He worked in secret space projects with reverse engineering technology at Area 51. So he worked with spacecraft that were reverse engineered. The Looking Glass is a seat in which the person who might have a clairvoyance of them already sit into the seat and can see things. If you've ever watched X-Men on Marvel, when Professor Xavier in a wheelchair puts on the helmet, he's able to see people's thoughts, voices, and ideas all around the world as a collective, and can zoom in on someone's thoughts or ideas about something that they're thinking about without having to say it.
And if you haven't, Disney Plus has it.
Okay.
Right, there you go.
Right.
Plug
Now we're not supporting Disney Plus or anything like that. We're just saying the stuff is on there.
Yes.
Yeah,
I mean,
it does have Marvel.
Disney
yes.
is connected in so many crazy things in
Yes, they are.
themselves
Yes, they
too.
are.
And ladies
Okay.
and gentlemen,
13.
Disney Plus is amazing.
Okay. But the Looking Glass is the fact that Trump can possibly, people with QAnon who work with Q, could possibly see into the future and see how things play out
I totally believe
Well,
it.
and know how to change the directive and the thought pattern and the vocality of what's being said, what's being used.
Well, it goes a little bit
Which is
beyond
why
that.
the deep state wouldn't want them, because the deep state has been doing that the entire time.
The government's used remote viewing to get all kind of information.
Right.
I am mind blown right now. I'm not
Do
going
you?
to lie.
Right.
Well, I'm about.
And look, you didn't even need whiskey.
Right? Stone cold sober right now.
Right. Isn't it amazing what this time is right
Bring
now?
your wine
It's
next
incredible.
time, please. Bring some
Okay,
more wine.
so here's the name of the book. This book was written in the 1890s. The Travels and Adventures of Little Baron Trump and
Oh,
his
yes.
wonderful dog Bugler.
Yes, I heard about this.
Now, and then it was sequeled by the book in 1896, The Last President. Now, both of these books have an uncanny resemblance to the time now. Now, the interesting part about this is, and what the conspiracy theory talks about, and it's like, kind of makes the hair stand up on the back of your neck when you actually research it and look at it, is that apparently his great uncle, I think it was.
Yes.
It
yes.
was his great uncle.
Yes.
Worked for.
Here we go.
Worked for
And
the.
believed in and actually helped try to get
Yeah.
his technology and
Yeah,
knowledge.
Nikola Tesla's technology. When Nikola Tesla
Oh,
died,
yeah.
he worked for. It was equivalent to the FBI's X Files, because FBI didn't quite exist back then, but it was alien technologies. And when they said alien technologies, it wasn't referring to aliens up there. It was when somebody invented technology that was out there, the government would come seize it once they passed and said, okay, is there anything that we can use?
That's why he
Is there
died a
anything-
broke man.
Yep. And Nikola Tesla, some of his theories talked about space travel. Some of his theories talked about time travel. Well, Mr. Trump goes, there's nothing we can really use. And he kept a lot of the blueprints and stuff in his own personal files. Well, out comes these two books a few years later,
Wow, this is
The
incredible,
Last
man.
President and The Adventures of the Little Baron. Well, in the pictures, you actually see the pictures, and it looks like Baron Trump, not Donald Trump Sr., but it looks like Baron, which would be his great nephew. So there's a lot of
That's
uncanny
amazing. That's incredible.
things. So
Wow.
I would say it like this: people look at it and do your own research, but it's pretty intriguing. It makes you scratch your head and go,
Wow.
is there any possibility of time travel? It makes you really question whose technology was the right technology. Now, me personally, I think Nikola Tesla's technology was the right technology to be used.
It was all free energy,
Yep,
Yes.
absolutely.
which
And
is why there was no need for gas and
Yes.
oil or anything like that. And those people got scared and said, no, we have to keep our money.
right, exactly.
Yes, that's right.
And that's
Yep.
and that's what's kept us, for lack of a better terminology, I call this dark ages. this is what's kept us in the dark ages for so long, because Nikola Tesla's free energy would have put us so far ahead of time. Like some of his designs and everything else would have talked about making magnet trains that were literally hovering across his ideas of Wi-Fi internet before internet even existed.
Right, wireless electricity too.
Wireless electricity. That's basically what he's talking about. He was talking about having communications use the same pathways and everything else. He talked about things that he didn't even see.
It's amazing. Wow.
His
But the thing is the government does have all of this stuff, and they are working on this and developing this. And what pisses me off is they're keeping it from the citizens, the people like us that could use it for medical research, for just convenience in our lives, all kind of different things.
Well, I can say it like this. Uncle Sam and the toys that he plays with is 150 years ahead of what we have in our current playlist that people play with now. And that's why if you ever, and it's funny because the Discovery Channel put out little snippets like tactical to practical, how this came to be, this came to be. Well, what the government plays with now and what they're currently testing at DARPA and what they're issuing out on the battlefields to their specialized units is light years in technology, whether it's solar energy or rather it's battery technology, whatever.
I've seen the invisible cloaking devices they have, which are amazing. Right.
Yeah. It's just finding the ways to, because there's a difference between having technology and finding ways to mass produce things to an affordable level.
Exactly right. So now we have drones for the public that are about this big that are flying around all over the place. These have been around for years and years and years.
Correct. Yeah, the military was
now our
small
kids are
drones
playing with these as toys.
Right, as toys.
Right.
It's incredible. Yeah, what you're saying is exactly right.
Just like we've talked about, we drive a car that has a technology of 50 years ago, but yet we have a phone that has more technology than the Saturn V rocket did.
Expound upon that, because you and I talked on the phone about these freaking cell phones when the iPhone first came out. Talk about that.
Well, we could get into specifics, but for the Cajuns out there, just think about this: we drive a vehicle that works on technology from 50 plus years ago, utilizing gas and oil and a motor that's made of metal, of things like this, that we have plastic composites on the outside, this and that. But the point is, this little thing right here, no matter how small it is, it's still small, has more technology than put the men on the moon.
It's incredible,
Correct.
man.
Okay?
Yeah.
It's mind-blowing.
And if we have that technology in our fingertips, why aren't we having that technology in our transportation? Why aren't we having that technology in our house homes? Why are we being limited to what we're allowed to have?
Control, power,
Correct.
money.
Exactly.
Correct.
Thank you.
And when they're able to say it's okay for us to be on the same level, that someone who is a multimillionaire, who has houses all over the place, can be on the same level who is a person who's a police officer, and can both have the same happiness, can both have as big a house as they want. There's no need for abilities to have someone who's up here and down here, because they're all on the same level. And when we're all on the same level, that's when we start to learn. And when we start to learn, that's when we really grow.
Right. And
Yes.
the reality of the matter is it's gonna, our technology is hitting a point of we're gonna have to either adapt or accept that the lessers in our society, and what I mean by lessers is the working class people, are gonna hit a point of we're not gonna take it, and they're gonna have to.
Well, that's already
come to that
started.
point.
That's already started. I mean, look what we're doing right now. Look what we're doing right now. You could have someone right now who is under low income, who's watching this right now, who says, I get it, I understand. I may live in this grade of an income and a lifestyle, but I understand. So they're going to want to learn. Then you can have someone who has everything, who's watching the Dave K show right now, and say, I want to learn.
Right.
The point is that we're all learning together, and when we can learn together, there's no need for ability to have a class, a working class, See that, but I will tell you one job that won't go away.
Civil service.
Right.
Civil
also-
service will never go away.
Right.
Medical.
Yeah.
And also cooking. Because
Yeah.
can a robot put love into a food?
Mm.
My grandfather would always say before we ate a meal at that table, that table raised chefs that went around the world and have served so many different people. That one table, that food that came off that table. My grandfather would say, who was in the Battle of the Bulge, and he survived. All 5 brothers of his went to service to a different branch. All 5 brothers came back. There's one brother that's still alive now. But Pop would always say this food was made with love, because there truly is something when you love family, you can incorporate that into food. But you take that love and you bring that to every plate that you do at a restaurant. You bring that to every table that you serve, that food that you serve. You bring that love. You will make money. You will get upsells. You will get tips. But yet we're in the restaurant business and we're all about poor me because I don't get paid enough, or poor me this and that. But when you step outside of the pay and you realize that I can learn how to serve people by the love I have from the inside,
Right.
that transcends. You can't put that into a robot.
Absolutely not.
You can't put that into someone that can that can replicate food, because food replicators do exist. Star Trek is real. Okay, a lot of that shit is real now today that we don't know about. People like Corey Good, people like David Wilcox, people like Laura Eisenhower, they know it exists. They've seen it for their own selves. But you cannot take the place of love. You cannot take the place of service through love as law enforcement, service through love as first responders, as both of you guys are. The ability to think of others before self. We talk about burning buildings, but yes, it comes back to the ability of taking that, and that is what saves the world, man.
Absolutely.
That's very well said. Very, very well said. Wow, we just scratched the surface and we're an hour and a half in. Wow. You guys got to come back. Well,
Absolutely.
You're our special guest host all the time anyway, but Alex, you got to come back for sure.
Well, I
and
love,
become a special guest host
I'm
too.
humbled, man. I'm just humbled to be in this presence of all 4 of us together.
Yes.
And
that's
how
great.
we have served individually.
Right. I want to thank y'all for y'all service too, because it's Veterans a month basically. So great time to have all 3 of y'all on at one time.
But
Right.
so we'd do it again, wouldn't we?
Absolutely.
Fucking second, we'd fucking put our
Right.
hand back up. And there's an American flag across from the City Club, and every time I park my car, I walk towards that flag, getting into the City Club building, and I stop and I hand salute, just like we hand salute the
that's
flag
great.
at 0600 in the morning time. So we hand salute the flag getting on board the ship for
Right.
work. We gave our respect to the American people and the American flag before we went and did our job, and we still do it today, ladies and gentlemen. We
That's
still
awesome.
do it today.
I love it.
Yep.
That is great. Ooh, that's great. We talked about a lot of different things. We kind of touched the surfaces on a lot of different things, but I think we generated a lot of discussion and thoughts for our people that are watching right now to kind of make them go and kind of research some other stuff for their own or whatever. So, I think we're going to wrap this thing up pretty soon. Do y'all have anything else you want to wrap everything up with? Anything you want to say?
Happy to be here, sir.
What are some things that are people saying right now? You have any comments coming up?
Nothing really. Just showing people watching. A lot of people have been watching, so we're blessed on that.
Great. Awesome.
You know, I think even if they don't say anything or they don't call in, they're watching.
They're watching, right?
And
Yeah, they're
isn't that what
absorbing.
it's all about? You know, it's not about us. It's about them.
Yes.
It's about you guys out there.
That's what it is. Yep. And thanks to everybody so much for watching too and everything. So, we're gonna wrap everything up. Amber's gonna put a plug in for our cross promoters once more before we leave. So go ahead, Amber, take it away.
Alrighty, want to give a shout out again to our media partners. Don't forget to check out Poinkapee's online news and information hub, poinkapeereporter.com, which features links to area media articles about Poinkapee. Dial them up on your web at poinkapeereporter.com. And also the Poinkapee Banner, Poinkapee's oldest and only paper, and now on Facebook as well.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks so much for those 2 guys for working with us to get news and information originating from Poinkapee and out to the world. That's the way we look at it.
That's
We don't look
right.
at it this way. We look at it this way.
That's right.
So, all right. Well, sounds great. So thanks you guys for coming. I appreciate it. We're going to do it again very, very soon. Amber, thanks for coming on out.
Thank you for having me. This
always
was
have
a
to
cool experience.
Yes, it was. Absolutely. Did a great job. So, like always, we have to say for Mr. Chris Baston in the back, for Tim